They laughed before she even opened her mouth. In the echoing expanse of the Marine training arena, a dozen recruits watched as the smallest, quietest woman among them struggled to tighten her gloves. Her name was Cadet Riley Stone, a name that would, before sundown, silence the same men who mocked her. "Careful, sweetheart," one of them sneered. "You might break a nail." The others laughed, the sound bouncing off the concrete walls like mockery made flesh. Riley didn't flinch. She simply looked up, her calm gaze steady, unreadable. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening." Riley had learned long ago that silence was its own kind of weapon. Words never protected her, not when her father, a Marine legend, died before she could prove she was more than a shadow of his name. She'd joined training not to impress anyone, but to earn what he had: respect forged in discipline, not inheritance. But to everyone here, she was just the general's daughter, a token, a joke. The drill sergeant barked orders, calling for sparring rounds. It was supposed to be simple, 2-minute rotations, basic combat drills. But when the sergeant saw Riley standing alone, his grin said everything. "6 of you," he said, pointing toward the group of cocky recruits. "Take her." A wave of laughter spread through the group. 6 against 1. No gear, no hesitation. Just a test, cruel, but revealing. The whistle blew. At first the air was filled with movement, heavy boots scraping the floor, bodies lunging forward. Riley didn't move. She waited, observed. Then, as the first recruit swung, she shifted just enough, her body turning like water around stone. His momentum carried him forward, and before anyone could blink, he was flat on the ground, airless and stunned. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The second came from behind, faster, angrier. She caught his arm mid-swing, pivoted, and sent him crashing into the mat beside his friend. "Get down." No one was laughing now. The third and fourth came together, but Riley's rhythm didn't break. Every movement was controlled, no wasted energy, no aggression, just precision. She moved with a calmness that made violence look like art. When the fourth recruit hit the ground, the fifth hesitated. The silence stretched heavy, electric. "Electric. Come on," she said quietly, almost gently. He rushed forward. She stepped aside, caught his collar, and let his own weight take him down. Sixth recruit, the largest of them all, approached slower. There was no arrogance in his stride now, only caution. He lifted his fists, breathing hard. "Where'd you learn that?" he asked under his breath. Riley's expression didn't change. "From someone you'd have saluted." And then it happened. In one seamless movement, she ducked, struck, and swept his legs from under him. He hit the mat with a thud that echoed through the entire arena. The room went dead quiet. Dust floated in the beams of sunlight above, like time itself had stopped to watch. Riley straightened, brushed her sleeve, and looked toward the stunned sergeant. "Permission to continue, sir?" For the first time in his 20 years of service, the sergeant couldn't speak. He simply nodded. When she turned away, whispers followed. Not mockery this time, but awe. Words like, "Who is she?" And that was impossible. But Riley didn't bask in it. She walked quietly to the corner, knelt to retie her gloves, and whispered a name under her breath, her father's. The recruits thought they'd seen a fight. But for Riley, it wasn't a fight at all. It was a promise one she'd made the day they folded her father's flag and handed it to her trembling hands. Later that day, when the base commander arrived for inspection, he found the recruits uncharacteristically silent. He looked at Riley, still standing at attention near the ring. Damn. And then at the group of men behind her, bruised, humbled, and strangely reverent. "What happened here?" the commander asked. The sergeant cleared his throat. "Respect happened, sir." The commander smiled faintly, eyes softening. He'd known her father. He saw it now, the same stillness, the same unshakable discipline. He stepped forward and saluted her. "Your father would have been proud, Lieutenant Stone." The title hit the air like a revelation. Recruits blinked. Lieutenant. Riley hadn't been one of them at all. She'd been observing the training as an undercover instructor, assessing discipline and teamwork. I think they'd failed until she taught them the hardest lesson of all. True strength doesn't need noise. It doesn't need recognition. It just is. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And that evening, as the sun dipped behind the barracks, The recruits who once laughed at the silent girl now stood a little taller, not because they feared her, but because she'd shown them what real composure looked like. If this story moved you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Whispered Words, where stories of courage, justice, and redemption find their home. And tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love hearing your story too.